Thanks for joining us today, Stephen. Mark, do you want to take it over and talk about the release and
Oh yeah, I should do that.
other
That sounds like
cool
a thing.
stuff?
Yes, we did a release. I'm looking up the notes now so that I can remember what it is that was in the release. What did we?
Supposed to have that memorized.
Oh, I don't know. It was like 4 days ago. I don't know what I was doing yesterday. Here we go. Yes, we have a C# SDK, which is awesome because I think literally like we had several people who were like, "Can we have a C# SDK?" And I was like, "It just landed, so check this out." What else have we got going on? C# SDK, some nice new validations. If you create a game server in a namespace that we haven't supported yet, we actually have a nice validation in the event stream now, which is nice rather than it just being stuck, which is also super nice. Other fun things, more configurable log levels for controllers. So, well, not like better like clean up more of that. So we're not spamming a lot of stuff. If you're using SuperTuxCut, you can it's now using a nice fork that allows AI connections, the AI bots for SuperTuxCut. So if you're looking for something to do load testing with an existing game that actually runs a workload, that could actually be a nice way to do it. Memory resource settings on the sidecar, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm trying to see if there's any other particular good bug fixes that we have in there as well. We probably do. Bugs. Most of it's tooling stuff. Yeah, I think that's probably most of it. We fixed a bunch of flaky tests. So lots of cool stuff. Oh, I did just think of one thing. That I wanted to list. So yeah, lots of good stuff. I think that's it. That's all I can think of.
All right. Anybody have questions about the release?
No, it's actually good timing. I think we're about to go into our QA round, so hopefully we'll get 1.50 in our next release in about 6 weeks.
Nice.
Do we want to talk about player tracking?
Yes, I just wanted to give people a bit of an update because that's been going on for a while. Robbie, I'm about to ruin your formatting. Right, there you go. You're good. So that work is going ahead. It's all sitting behind a feature branch right now. I actually have a bunch of work that I haven't even submitted as PRs. I've been trying a different development cycle where I actually run ahead and then pull stuff back into PRs that are smaller. Now that the proto is in place, I'm hoping that we get a version of player tracking happening in this release. That is my goal for this cycle, is to get something out for this release, because it's holding up a bunch of really interesting work.
In alpha, or are you hoping to?
Yeah, in alpha. Yeah, no,
okay.
In alpha,
so
absolutely.
Basically,
yeah.
Feature complete in alpha, so it's off by default. So people can turn it on, but they can see the whole thing end to end.
Yep.
So that we can then talk about when to promote it to beta.
Exactly. It will probably be just the Go and REST SDKs, I expect, just because of time. But we'll see how far I get. But that is my goal for this release. I'm going to be hyper focused. I want to see some major features. We haven't really had a major feature in Agones for a while, so I'd like to see some more rolling of that forward. So that's my goal. And we also had, if you haven't had a look, we did do some changes to the design for player tracking, based on sort of the work that we've been doing. Nothing too drastic. Really the big thing there is actually that we will be tracking the tokens for IDs for players when they connect and disconnect on the CRD. We looked at that and decided that was actually going to be a really good idea. So that pulled away some other functionality. So the webhook functionality is going away, because you can write your own controllers. So yeah, if you haven't had a look or you're interested and you want to make sure that that's going to line up with what you want, we've got some consensus, but feedback is always appreciated. Yes, that was a very good point. Sorry?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know if it's relevant to this, but we were doing some, not as in-depth of this player tracking, but just tracking the number of players connections to each game server. And we were finding, I think we were modifying the label on the pod each time a player connected or disconnected.
Right.
And it actually setting the label couldn't keep up. So I don't know if that might be something to watch out for.
Yeah, so what we're doing with this is we'll keep 2 layers. So one on the SDK server, we're going to track an in-memory state of what the connected and disconnected are. So if you're connecting to it from the game server itself, you always have that most valid data. And then basically whenever you do a player disconnect or connect, it actually will basically chuck something in the queue 1 second in the future so that we can then batch everything all in one request and keep track of disconnects and connects. So 1 second is what we're setting it to by default to try it out for now. And then we can always adjust or maybe make it configurable, that kind of stuff, depending on how people go. But yeah, we didn't want to be doing it so that on each and every one, because exactly right. We're deeply concerned about that kind of problem. So we're like, all right, let's set it up so it batches those connect and disconnect counts and the player IDs, and it does it all in one go each and every time.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, the other fun trick in that is what I'm also looking at, or what I've actually done in some of the code that I have, is make sure that we don't, whenever we're setting the connected IDs, make sure that the ID list stays in the same order. So it doesn't, so it can, the diffs between the two is actually like minimal. Or at the very least, you can see it as a no-op. It's like, oh, these two are the same. We can actually check those as being the same and stuff. So we can, there's some, in a lot of places with stuff, you can kind of just be like, just apply the same thing, because it doesn't happen that often. But I'm putting some more aggressive checks in there to be like, okay, if this data is the same, then don't even send it to the API, because we don't want it to go through. So being quite cognizant of that.
Is it kind of a common issue then with Kubernetes, that just setting these things, there is a maximum kind of rate where it's feasible?
Yeah, it's like any API, like it's rate limited. I don't know, Robert, if you would agree with me, but I would say the Kubernetes API is probably not 100% built for like rapid state changes, because that's just not like a pod's not going to change that often. And there's actually stuff coming down the pipe for rate limiting based on like putting in an API limits and stuff for stuff. Sorry, Robert, you're going to say something.
Oh, I was going to say, like the underlying data store, like etcd was chosen for like resiliency. In terms of like doing quorum writes and reads, so that you could like have a highly available control plane. It was not chosen for throughput, and so you kind of generally get to pick one or the other. And so, like as Mark was saying, like most of the state that's expected to be stored in Kubernetes is not expected to be changing, tens, hundreds of times per second, right? Like it's just not designed for that sort of like write throughput.
So we will see. But yeah, that's why, definitely having that double layer, so that, if you need to get at it from the SDK and know what your player counts are from within your game server, we want to provide that. And also make it essentially eventually consistent to the CRD backing it. But yeah, that was also part of the decision to store the player tokens as well. Because if we're doing the change to update the count, then it's just a change in data, really. We're just adding a bit more data, and sort of back and napkin calculation seems like it's not too bad.
Do you want to talk about gRPC?
Do you want to talk about gRPC technically?
I mean, basically, just a small little thing of rewriting the gRPC JS. It's now based on TypeScript versus brain not working. So yeah, right. He moved really quickly. So anyway, it's basically been rewritten. The version that used to happen is going away soon. It's not appreciated yet, but no more features will be coming in that one. So we have the link to the blog post there. It's very short and to the point. But one of the things was that we had this weird issue that was involving the Node.js stuff with a weird error message. And so there was the idea of like, hey, maybe this will fix that. But I know also Mark is unable to replicate that error. So was it really an error? No. But basically just calling out attention of like, hey, there was this big change to gRPC, and potentially it could fix this error that we can't replicate.
that we know people are having. If anyone can come up with a way to replicate that error, that would be awesome. I used the example that I think, Stephen, you worked on, and I left it sitting there overnight. And it was still there in the morning and fine. So clearly there's something more to it that way, or something else needs to happen. I don't know. Or maybe I genuinely, I'm not sure. There are some tweaks on the SDK server side that I've seen in some tickets around like keep alive times and things like that I could try, but I kind of, without something to replicate the error, it kind of makes me a little scared to just be randomly twiddling knobs and see what happens. Just because it's a surface area that affects a lot of things.
So yeah, it's probably okay then to update this gRPC library.
Yeah.
Just make sure it has all the features that you need.
I don't think we're doing anything special. We've got no middleware or anything fancy like that.
Okay. Yeah, because it's not, the new version is not full feature parity with the old.
And it's just I guess it's just the client in this case. On the node side.
Yeah. So the SDK surface shouldn't change. It's just the underlying implementation.
Yeah, I can take a look at that.
Yeah, it'd be great. Do you want to write a bug or?
Yep.
Sweet. Thank you.
Well, we have the existing one, right? Can't we just work on that?
Well, I don't know. Then probably a separate bug that's an upgrade bug, and then like, because if this doesn't fix the issue, then I'd rather keep that open.
Oh yeah, should I create an issue? I mean, I don't know what's the process. Normally I just make a pull request, but I guess.
Yeah, or if you want to create an issue so we can just track the work and say, hey, we're going to upgrade the thing to the new Node.js library. That'd be, saves me from
Mark loves issues.
I do. Then we know what's going on.
Okay, I guess another upgrades. You want to talk about Kubernetes, Robbie? Sorry, I haven't had coffee yet, so ignore me.
Sure. So I just wanted to mention at our last community meeting, we talked about sort of the Kubernetes upgrade cycle and trying to move forward a little bit faster, right? So with COVID, the next Kubernetes release is getting pushed out, but generally they try to release every 3 months, and we've been sort of falling a little bit behind in terms of our version support, and to the point where unless you're running, one of the newest couple of releases of Agones, you're running on a version that like can't even be launched on GKE, and I think it's going to be deprecated if it hasn't already been on Azure here really soon as well. So instead of forcing people, if they want to create a new cluster and run a supported version, to have to pick the latest release of Agones, if they're concerned about that, or if they aren't ready to upgrade, the better we can do in terms of keeping up with the releases a little bit faster, the more of a sort of window we're going to be able to provide people in terms of choosing the version of Agones that they're comfortable running, having a version of Kubernetes that's actually available on their cloud provider. So that being said, we went ahead and updated the sort of nomenclature on our installation page about what version we will target for support for each Agones release. And that issue was open since our last meeting. We got some feedback on it, but we've gone ahead and merged the changes and closed the issue. And in line with the new policy for the next release, which is 1.6, we're planning on upgrading to Kubernetes 1.5. And so I started working on that this week, and we also are going to upgrade the client libraries hopefully in the next couple of days as well, so that we can start soaking on the new version of Kubernetes and be comfortable with that for our next release. So I think that's sort of the quick summary. Basically, at this point, it looks like the cadence is likely to be every other release we're going to want to upgrade, given that Kubernetes releases almost exactly half as fast as we do, right? So if we kind of keep this cadence and the cloud providers keep a similar cadence of adopting new Kubernetes versions, then you would expect that like even numbered Agones releases would be upgrading to Kubernetes. Now, obviously, that can fall behind based on our policy if the cloud providers are not adopting them at the same rate that Kubernetes is coming out. Over the last couple of years, that has certainly slowed down from their end. So, but I would expect every sort of second or maybe third version of Agones to have a new Kubernetes version that it supports. any questions, thoughts, concerns? Mark pasted the new policy into the notes as well if people haven't seen it. All right, let's go on to the next thing then.
The mako.dev issue.
Yeah, April. I checked the thing on. I gently bumped that issue.
Okay.
I don't know if you ended up sending an email to Tim Ford or not.
I thought I did.
Right,
Let me.
bumped the
I
issue.
will ping him again. Because
I was just
wasn't
going through old
he?
stuff.
Oh yeah. So you pinged him too. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. I thought I had done it, but I'll double check too. Well, you just followed up too, but we can do it twice. Anyway, yes. Was there anything else other than we just need to follow up with him?
I don't think so.
Okay. Robbie, you want to talk about milestones?
Yes, sorry. I was just kind of looking at, trying to figure out like, are there any issues we should be discussing today? And one thing that occurred to me is like, oh, I should see like, what do people think we're working on for 1.6? So I pulled up the 1.6 milestone. And while I think the backwards looking milestones are really useful and accurate because as things merge, Marcus goes through and like make sure that maybe as part of the release, like all of the merged, and closed issues get tagged with the milestone for the release that has been cut. The future looking milestone for 1.6 is rather empty and only has 2 issues in it, which are sort of ongoing maintenance tasks that have been like just literally bumped forward each milestone as we cut releases. And so it seems like the future looking milestones, like we should either think about not using them and just saying milestones are only for backwards looking stuff, or we should think about a process where we can, for as each release gets cut, we can sort of talk about like, here's the stuff we think will be in the next release. So a good example is Mark just said, like, I'm working on player tracking. I really want the alpha version of that to be done in 1.6. But player tracking is not part of the 1.6 milestone, right? Like the Kubernetes upgrade to 1.15 that I just talked about is targeted for 1.6, but that's not in the 1.6 milestone. So if anybody is trying to look at a short-term roadmap for Agones, they don't really have a way to see what we're looking on unless they happen to come to this meeting or find these notes and don't really know what's coming up next. So we can decide that's okay, and we should just like keep things as is. And if people want to know what's coming up, they can find these notes or come talk to us or ask questions in Slack. Or if people think it's useful, we could have some sort of process we create to actually use milestones for things that we are working on that we're targeting. And that could be as simple as like, if I'm working on the Kubernetes upgrade, like I should add that milestone. Or if Mark's working on the other thing, he should add that milestone. Or if you don't have access, I think everybody should be able to do it through the prow commands. So we could sort of encourage people to do that in the same way people sort of assign issues to themselves as they're working on them. Or we could just say like, we don't care about milestones looking forward. So I was curious if anybody thought that it would be valuable to have forward-looking milestones, especially like Stephen or Dominic, if you're like looking at like what is coming next, would that be useful? Or is it more like when I'm ready to push a new build, like I'll look at the current version, make sure everything is there that I want, and just sort of request through this forum or somewhere else, like things that you're interested in having and seeing soon.
Yeah, I think for us, we're fairly happy with the feature set, and we would just create an issue for anything we desired. I think, I've not really been looking to milestones to see like when that's delivered, but would perhaps keep on top of the specific issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo Stephen there. I'm not really looking at the milestones. Most of the information that I'm gathering is from either the pull requests, issues, or reading through this document after the calls. So I don't think it's a big need. I think the retrospective ones are really good though. Let's see when things did come in. So yeah, I think keep on basically the way we are in a minute. It's quite good.
Okay, I mean, if we want to do that, I would suggest taking these 2 issues out of the 1.6 milestone to reduce the overhead of upping them forward every time. And we should just maybe write a short note that says like milestones are backwards looking, like you shouldn't try to figure out what's coming up. You can tell what is coming on the next release if something has been merged and closed, if people have proactively tag stuff when it emerges. Like I know, Mark, you do that sometimes, and other times you kind of batch do it during a release. But
Yeah, it depends whether I catch it or not, more than anything
exactly.
else. Yeah.
Maybe, but I think maybe the best thing to do would just be to take these two out of the milestone and just
Should I do that now?
Yeah, and
I'll
we'll
do it
just
now.
say like milestones are not used for forward-looking planning, basically, right?
That works.
Cool. So I think there's definitely some overhead of us trying to do that process, and if people aren't going to find it useful, then we should definitely not spend the time to do it.
Yeah, I think though I really should finish off that update everything issue, because the only one left is Unity, and I think it probably has very little stuff that needs to be done.
The SDK one?
Yeah, there's an update example images with latest everything, which was like update the OS and like all that kind of stuff. And the only one that's left is Unity. And
I didn't realize all those have been checked off.
Yeah, awesome. I've done most of them.
Yeah, so you should finish that and then add it back to the milestone.
I should. It seems like a thing I should do.
I'm going to assign it to you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Okay, and then the SDK one, I think there's still some bigger gaps in terms of like conformance testing for a couple of the different SDKs.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Next up. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Minimist.
Yeah, because we keep getting bugged by it from some of our team members. So,
well, and from GitHub sends out like I don't know if it's weekly or.
I don't get it.
Oh,
because we don't like you.
I don't get the email for whatever reason.
We don't like you.
Okay. Well, I guess
I get the notification on my page.
What Mark's talking about is that
maybe it goes in your spam because you're an owner now. So.
Oh. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Robert.
I was like, GitHub sends security alerts occasionally to some set of people, apparently not Mark, to let us know if it has detected security issues within our project, right? And the way I think it does that is it looks at your dependencies that you're pulling in, and matches those against known CVEs. And there's been a CVE for a little while now against Minimist library versions that are older than 0.2.1, and so we've been getting bugged about trying to upgrade. And Stephen, you went and looked at like where this is being pulled in. This is in the Node.js SDK for those that don't know. And it's like a dependency of a dependency, right? And so we're sort of waiting for dependencies to update so that we can update their version and pick up a new version of Minimist. When I went and looked at the CVE, it looked like it probably would not affect us because it's about some parsing and input validation errors. And I think the way we're using it, we don't actually use it for any parsing or input validation. So it seems like it's pretty low risk, but it would certainly be nice to get rid of the warnings from GitHub and the warnings from the other people that are getting notifications that are pestering us. Do you remember, Stephen, if this was pulled in from the gRPC dependency? For some reason, that's.
I think it was in a number of places. I think it's quite a common dependency, and it's actually using a dev dependency, which I'm not. That's why I wasn't too concerned about it, because you don't even need those. You can avoid deploying those dependencies to production.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the thing you sent, and it says it's in makedirp node pre-gyp, which is part of gRPC, and then JSON 5, which is part of NYC, the NYC package. So
NYC, that's the dev dependency.
So none of those are production dependencies then? The gRPC obviously is.
Well, the gRPC one might.
And ESLint is the first one.
That's the dev dependency. Okay. Yeah, I think we can take another look. I think there might even be some bot on GitHub, like I think something called Greenkeeper, or there are bots that can even do this kind of thing automatically. So I don't know how easy it is to integrate though. I've not done that before. Because I guess in our case we just have to check the day before release, or as late as possible, or where we can check when the security alert comes and see if there's been a fix. But often it might take a week or so that we can just have to kind of keep manually checking until it's fixed, and then another one may turn up. So you
should probably write an issue for this.
So April, hopefully the new gRPC libraries don't depend on an old version of this library that has known issues. That would be great.
That'd be nice. Yeah, that would probably solve that issue.
It's all perfect. I don't know what the problem is.
I mean, it might be an idea for every release just to update, just have a standard step that we update these, or until we can automate it.
Right. I think wasn't the issue last time we looked is that even if we tried to update, it wasn't actually going to get us to a version of this like transitive dependency that was out of the CVE window.
Yes, yeah. So that wouldn't. There was no option then, but maybe there is like now. So.
And if there's something you know of, I know you said you can't remember exactly the name, but we can always look at the automated tools. Not everything is allowable by our security, but certainly willing to take a look and do what we can if it'll make life easier.
Well, GitHub gives us, there's an automatic security update button that we could hit.
Yeah, but even that didn't get approved until.
Yeah. Is that actually approved now?
It is.
Oh, so we're going to hit the button?
I tried that button for this one, and it spun for a good couple of hours and then failed. Just so you know. That was the first thing I tried. I was like, "Oh, security warning! It says it'll fix it," and it didn't do anything. So, and probably because, like Steve was saying, like it's transitive dependencies, and at the time, like this was I think a month or so ago, the versions to upgrade out of the range weren't there. So if our dependencies have been upgraded, the button might work now. So
I'm trying hitting the button.
Hit the button.
I'm hitting the button. See what happens.
Nothing, probably.
I didn't. I'd
anticlimactic.
Probably do exactly the same thing. I'll just keep hitting it until it works.
Put a link to that Greenkeeper in the doc. I've just seen that used on other projects, although they're actually handing over to SNCC, which is
okay. Cool.
Cool. And that will actually keep all the dependencies up to date. So I think so as new gRPC client versions become available, it can automatically update. I think it will create a pull request for each one, run the tests. I'm not sure if it can automatically merge or if that's a manual step.
Probably don't want to automatically merge. That would be bad.
You'll notice the bot will become a major contributor of the repository.
The SNCC thing has a dog as the mascot, so I'm sold already.
There you go.
But yeah, it's got the Google logo on it, so clearly it's approved, right? No, we'll check.
The other one that I've used in the past is Dependabot.
That's
what GitHub uses. Yeah,
GitHub bought them, so that's what it's built in now, and so that's why.
Just lost audio for you. Oh, there you go. You're back.
Whatever. I can't. My headset hasn't had coffee yet either, apparently. So yeah, bookmarked. We'll look into this. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, I think whatever we use, it's not advocating Greenkeeper.
Dependabot cannot update to the required version. A few details about this error.
Nice.
At least it gave you one quickly. It took me a lot longer than that.
There you go. Dads.
All right. Alex, do you want to talk about your stuff?
Yeah. Just got tried to see how many bytes we can pass into state of CRD, and I saw that when we extend, for example, state and ports in this state for game server, there is no validation, so we can pass whatever we can with the kubectl edit command. So do we need to validate on update this state? Probably could be reasonable for player IDs checking or not.
Meh.
No,
I don't know. If people are manually editing the status value of a game server, like, it's on them. I don't know.
Yeah. For next question,
that's a rope that they can hang themselves with, I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there's more important things to be worrying about in the priority queue of stuff to work on.
There is a question about Terraform. So when we have modules, so we have two of them, Helm and GKE, for example, and then we do 2 times git clone of whole Agones repo. Probably we can split out to a separate one and clone after merge, for example, to main Agones repo to these small ones. If it's reasonable to save some time, disk space, because currently you cannot clone only one folder. It copied all Go files, etc.
I don't disagree with you. I'm a little worried about release overhead of having to do releases in multiple places.
Probably we can copy right after merge in master Agones and then copy to small one.
Outside of that, I am definitely not against it. I don't know if we want to do. How do we want to maintain the backward compatibility is probably an interesting question, or at least to a degree. Like, do we want to copy over and then sell people, do some kind of sync thing that sends it over to a new repo, or like
probably we can tag the releases at the same point when we tag Agones with new version.
It's just more work, but that's not a bad thing necessarily.
I think there's also there is a kind of a hack to clone just a directory. I think you have to do an initial fetch, and then there's some flags that you can pass.
Yeah, but when you do a Terraform init, I don't think you have control over that.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, because it'll go reference the modules from the Git repository, and it'll grab all of Agones, and then you end up with a really big Terraform init. It's not like the end of the world.
Yeah, at least you have a backup of Agones 2 times more. And then update example containers. Just asking Robert which automatic security analysis utility we can use. Yeah, just a side note.
The example containers.
We can do it later probably. Yeah, and just wanted to close this. Or when we was updating all versions. And one more issue that I see, probably we need more, more events on when pod could not be created. So this currently there are quite a lot of places where it could happen. And one point was my latest bug, which was wait a moment, how to resource quotas could not be updated because of the resource version. So if we have lots of game servers, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be in the new Kubernetes version, but I will post a link. And just probably could add some logging, and we have logs, and probably we need to have events for all this stuff.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's it from my side.
Yeah, there's been a few people who are trying out Agones, and for a variety of reasons, it hasn't necessarily worked very well. So having some more, it's a create some events. That sounds good. I like that idea. Regards to the security vulnerabilities one, that should actually almost be complete as if I finish, or at least maybe we've come full circle, but a lot of that stuff has been updated.
Yeah, so I think catching all of like the latest dependencies probably fixes most of it. It might be worth, after you're done, Mark, if you go back, pop into the Cloud Console and see if there are any warnings on the latest versions that you pushed.
Probably. It's probably been enough time now. They need another round of updates.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what happened is like we've been going through and updating them all as I've been changing all of the SDK stuff.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later I went back and was like, oh, it's got like all of these security warnings, and there were tons, and a lot of them are just like low severity, or if you update the base operating system, you pick up like 80 or 90% of them like in one shot, right?
Which actually reminds me, The build image is still running an old version of Debian. The ticket now.
Does anybody have anything else they want to cover? Any questions or anything?
Oh, I just wonder where we got to with the Helm 2 versus Helm 3. I saw there was some really good analysis on that.
I'd really like to make that change. I think we're reaching a point where we probably should. I posted an example in there of where you can actually. It looks like from what people are saying, it seems like you can use Helm 3 right now. You just need to change the command a bit. I think we could, like, I posted an example of where someone else has done that, and they're like, this is how you do it in Helm 2, and this is how you do it in Helm 3, and it's fine. But I think what we probably need to do on our end is start to change over our tooling to move it to Helm 3 and probably put a note in our doc saying something like, hey, this probably works on Helm 2, but we're testing on Helm 3 now, just letting you know, or give people a heads up that that's coming. Not that I think we actually need to change our charts. And I'm actually also hoping that that solves the problem that Alex, you and I have talked about Terraform, where like where you delete the cluster, the Terraform, and like it doesn't delete the Helm stuff in enough time. And so you end up with a whole bunch of stuff left over in GKE, like a whole bunch of load balancers and stuff, which is a real pain. And it'll also simplify a lot of the Terraform stuff as well, and bring us up to date with the Terraform providers and that kind of stuff too. I did an informal poll on who's using what, and it looked like on Twitter, Terraform is a clear. Helm 3 is a clear winner. So yes, I would love to see that happen. Does anyone who Dominic, Steven, like what are you all using right now, or you don't care, or how do you feel about this? Because you're the external people.
So Improbable, last I checked, they were still using. They actually weren't using. They're using Terraform, but not to create the Agones. And they're using Helm, but not for the deployment of Agones. They were hand rolling it with YAML files.
Okay,
that's what we found with Customize. Doing templating with Customize because we didn't need much.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the approach that I would take if I did it again.
Yeah, and I think for us, just Helm 2, I think that might be built into the Cloud Shell right now. But yeah, for us, it's easy with either way. I mean, Helm 3 seems a lot better.
Yeah, I think it's been around long enough now that we could definitely. Yeah, I would love to.
I think the concern for us with Helm 2 is the setting up Tiller in a secure manner.
Pain, right? Oh my god, yeah, no, I agree. Like so much stuff goes away. I 100% agree.
By the way, for Terraform, I've just remembered that added Terra test, which is nice and also provide functionality to test Helm templates. For example, you pass all variables and then see what would be the result. And the only issue I see is it's always updating gomod in the root directory, and if we it's made by IDE, I think, like Go Please tool or something like this, and splitting this out into separate repo also could help with this loss. However, yeah, this repo should contain only Terraform files, I think, but tests, I think, also would be really small. So one more point, yeah, to split out.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. By the way, for Helm 2 to Helm 3, we need to provide an upgrade guide how to do this, and that's could I mean, or we should support both. Mark, what do you think for?
Sorry, I was writing an issue out and I was not
Sorry.
listening.
Okay.
Say it again.
I mean, Helm 2 and Helm 3 would be supported both at the same time, or?
So what I was going to suggest is I'm literally writing like a checklist now. Like, so I would recommend basically the changes I would say. I would say, first of all, update the docs to include instructions for both Helm 2 and Helm 3, like very similar to what we've seen in the example that I put in there for like Cert Manager. I think they because it's very minor change. Migrate our dev tooling and end-to-end tooling to Helm 3. And then change our docs to say, basically make a note on the Helm installation page that we're actively testing against 3 and not 2, but 2 should still work. But we encourage you to upgrade. Once we've got that, actually, then what we can do from there is actually probably then we need to work out how we want to change our Terraform stuff. Oh, can you? Yeah, people can hear me.
I can hear.
Okay, Robert, it's you. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We will want to come up with some strategy. Terraform. Yeah, Terraform's the tricky one because if you just Terraform apply and then like it could like break stuff. Maybe we advocate we'll take a copy of the previous Helm or something, or maybe we move it or something. We keep the Helm 2 chart as like an archived item in like a Helm 2 module that people can then move to if they want to, but we're keeping the like something like that. I don't know. Maybe we version it. Like we have a Helm 2 folder that we don't really touch, but we leave there if people still need it. And then we have the Helm 3, or maybe Helm 3 is a new one. Maybe we make Helm 3 as a new one and make that the default. Something. I don't know. There's probably more conversation. What do you think, Alex?
Helm 3, the helmening.
Helmening.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I was going to say our upgrade instructions for Agones usually include create a whole new cluster. So that's kind of fine.
So we've got about 10 minutes left. So I just want to see if anybody's got any questions or anything else that they wanted to talk about that wasn't on the agenda.
April, what is MacoDev? Process. So do you have some instructions for me to deal with Mako.dev? Or?
Well, so Mark commented on the issue, and we're going to follow up with Tim to figure out, what he needs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So.
There.
Anybody have anything else they want to cover?
Yeah, Alex, there is some documentation. Yeah, I'll check in the notes. Actually, I'll check it in the Mako section.
Well, it has to do with it's something about it just needs verification that it's a Google project. And I sent him an email like, "Hey, I'm real," but yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah, it looks like there's a command line tool for local testing. It seems.
It was in Knative they used, but it's on the old version, I think. I've tried and it's not working now. They changed the API a bit, so.
Okay, looks like there's a CLI. Okay, anyway, I don't know.
I have commented this somewhere. I probably
Okay.
posted in.
We'll have to explore it. Cool. April, you haven't asked your favorite question.
What's everyone playing?
I thought you
And
were going
why
to
is
ask
it
Animal
Animal Crossing?
There it is.
There's a new update today. It's very exciting. I mean, Steven's playing with snakes, but other than that,
I've been playing
Elder Scrolls Online. There's a
Subterfuge.
big update.
You don't play with friends. You will lose friends playing with Subterfuge.
What is Subterfuge?
It's like a submarine game. It's over the period of a week in real time, launching submarines against other people's bases, and yeah, it's definitely gets a bit tense when people are waking up at 3 a.m. to launch subs.
wow. That sounds fun, but yet also dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Well, I like this. I like the whole like it's a week-long game. I kind of like you don't have to. Do you have to like keep a close eye on it, or you can kind of?
You can kind of look into the future and see like what is going to happen, but then you don't know what other people have planned in the future as well. So yeah, it's definitely a fun one. I'm just about to be absolutely taken over by one of my friends.
Yeah, we might have to try this. This looks interesting.
Yeah, I'm installing this on my phone.
Well, because we keep saying like that everybody's, working from home and all this, like we need to find a game that we can all play together. And we tried last week with some of folks on the team. It was varied results. And so it's something that everybody could do on their own, but like still be, playing something together. That sounds interesting. That could be good.
The Agones community subterfuge game. That's what you're saying?
I mean, it's either that or everybody gets on Animal Crossing. Y'all pick.
I mean, if we could get a hold of a Switch in the UK, I'd get on Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and there is this Google Stadia project is not working in my country, so I tried a computer for one. So I have tried GeForce Now, and it's like interesting experience not to install, not to use your disk space, etc. So it was fun. Some lags, but at least they provide free also months, I think, like related to quarantine. Yeah,
that's definitely a nice benefit without like every time my husband will, because my office is right next to the room that has the TV and the PlayStation, and I'll see him like, end of the day go in there and then it'll be quiet. And then like 30 minutes later, it's like, well, I was going to play NBA 2K, but there was an update. I'm like, yeah, welcome to the world of video games. Like that's how it works.
Yeah. If you want to play a game today, you turn on your computer in the morning and make sure that everything's fine. And then
I was like, you should have started it on Stadia and then you wouldn't have this problem. But yeah, no.
So I'm reading reviews of Subterfuge. And there's a 1-star review that says, very, very stressful game. Play this only if you think life is beautiful and want to experience some depression, sleepless nights, nail-biting betrayals.
Wow. That's quite the endorsement.
That is quite the endorsement, I feel.
It's definitely one of those games I won't be playing anytime soon again. I'll play in like 6 months when I've forgotten how stressful it is.
I mean, there's not enough to be stressed about in the world these days, right? We need other things. Ooh, it needs access to photo. This is new. Okay, well, whatever. It's downloaded. I'm sure it's fine. All right, nobody has anything else exciting? Well, thanks everybody for joining. We'll get the recording up. We'll still be in touch, of course. I'm thinking next month we switch to later time in the day. We talked about this before about, swapping off,
Oh, yeah.
so that folks on the other half of the world have a little bit of an easier time. So I'll update the invite for that, and we'll give it a shot and see how it works. But until then, we will see everyone virtually and on the Slacks.
I know.
Bye.
Bye now.